Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst, and this is Before the Box Score. Oh, it's so sleepy. It's so sleepy in football and basketball land. But here we are. We have a football podcast for you. We're going to talk about Missouri stuff, and we're going to fill, for sure, 10 minutes. Nathan Hurst, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's peak T-ball season, so it's not sleepy out on the dusty diamond in mid-Missouri. So, but thankfully it is sleepy in the football world, at least in the Mizzou football world. This time of year, you want it to be sleepy. Minus maybe a few more recruiting commitment announcements. You know, we could use a few more of those, but no news is good news at this point in the year otherwise.
Yeah. From the current team, you don't want to hear jack squat, right? You don't want the players to be doing anything except being best friends. You don't want the coaches to be doing anything except getting a few days of vacation that they get in their lives. So yeah, this is sleepy time, but we can still talk about stuff. And oh, by the way, we strategically delayed some news to talk about it now because we knew it was going to happen. So yay us. We're forward thinking. We're going to be talking about recruits, both Missouri type and the state of Missouri type. We're going to be talking about just recruiting in general. And we're going to talk about the news item of the week that's got everybody in a minor uproar. So let's start with Mizzou stuff. Let's start with high school commits. It's not a ton, but they've had two that we have not talked about on the podcast anyway. So rewind your brains, go all the way back to the magical land of April 18th and April 4th. Boy, we had not talked about this for a whole month. Good job, us. Let's start with the first one. We'll go in chronological order. We got a commitment. Missouri got the commitment from Mr. DeMonte Timms. He is a safety from Seffner, Florida. Good old Armwood High School, which I'm sure their rivals have a lot of fun with that one. He is 928th ranked prospect in the country, according to 247. 74th best safety, 124th ranked player in the state of Florida. 6 foot 195, 3-star committed on April 4th. DeMonte Timms reminds me of somebody. Who does he remind you of, Mr. Hurst?
His playing style, not necessarily his size, but his playing style reminds me a lot of Dalen Carnell. I think that's kind of the position that he looks to slot into once he gets on campus. The other guy that kind of reminded me of maybe, and he didn't play this position as much, but Jalen Carlisle, just in terms of how he comes downhill and hits pretty good. But he plays a box safety, and you don't see a lot of those in high school, to be honest, the way that high schools often run their defenses. It's a little less complex, and having that box safety kind of makes things a little more complex. But he's there, and he plays a very good box safety for his team. You never see him downfield in coverage, which you rarely will see the way their defense is set up. See Dalen Carnell downfield in coverage. So I really think that's the vision they have for him, and that's who he reminded me of in terms of play style.
Yeah, young Dalen Carnell, good old DC. He also reminded me of Marvin Burks 2 years ago. Very similar, just like attack. And yeah, he's good at it. I mean, that's why he's top 1,000 player in the country, and that's why he's 3-star getting recruited by Missouri. He's got a very aggressive style, and since Ryan Walters left the Drinkwitz staff, Eli Drinkwitz and his defensive friends have really prioritized aggressive safeties, both in deployment and type that they go after, which is great. I like it. When you're going to be playing 5 defense backs anyway, it's nice to have one that can get in there and kind of be a hybrid outside linebacker safety type. But yeah, not asking him to play pass coverage because they're usually not very good at that until year 3 or 4. Yeah, it's a type. They have a type in safeties, and this guy fits that type. He's a lot of fun to watch. A lot of boomstick action if you watch his high school tape, so that's a lot of fun. And he's coming into a safety room that they've had a lot. I think safeties this year is one of the more fun position groups to follow, just with the addition of Jalen Catalon, who beat us last year, but Beans Banner, looking at Mose Phillips. And then you have even the younger guys like Trajan Greco, who's going to be coming into his own, Jackson Hancock, who'll be in year 2, or even CJ Bass, who's in his first year now, but should be starting to round into form into the next year when Timms will be on campus. It's a fun position group with a lot of options, and so there's no rush for him to have to do anything at this point, especially since obviously you're going to portal over any losses that you have anyway. But it's a fun piece, and it's one that kind of shadows a lot of what Missouri's already done with this position group, and makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, what's what's the ceiling for this kid?
I
Everything
mean,
goes well. What do you think?
yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at a guy that probably best case scenario, he's going to come in. He's not going to see the field his freshman year, and probably won't see the field his sophomore year either. I think he's a truly developmental guy, and not necessarily because of his play style, but more his size. If he's going to play a box safety, he's going to have to put on probably 15 pounds. Right now, he's under 200, which is way too light to be playing that type of position in the SEC. Now, he may have a skill set downfield that we haven't seen. If you watch his tape, it just doesn't exist in terms of playing a free safety. And if that is the position that they want him to play, he's the right size to do that. But we haven't seen the fact, see if whether or not he can do that or not, just because he doesn't do that in high school. So now, if he steps on campus and that's where they want him, and that's where he can excel, he could get on the field and by the time he's a sophomore. But I'm thinking, he's a classic developmental guy. Junior year is when he really starts, maybe sophomore year, he gets on the field for special teams. Junior year, he starts really rotating in solidly on the, in the rotation. And by the time he's a senior, he's a leader on the defense. He's a starter for at least a year there at the end. I think that's probably his, path to success, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. No rush. But I mean, at the same time, at the end of this year, Dalen Carnell, Jalen Catalon, and Caleb Flagg are gone. They don't really have a say in it. They're done. Marvin Burks Jr. and Mose Phillips could leave at the end of this year. I don't know if they will, but they have the option. So I mean, in worst case scenario, 1, 2, 3, you have 4 guys ahead of DeMonte, plus whatever they portal over. So, maybe there's a path for him to come in if he impresses and they don't think they need anybody. There's a path there, but obviously that's not how the staff works. They want to create competition. They're always going to value production over potential. We'll touch on that in a couple more minutes. And so yeah, I don't think this is a guy who's going to be seeing the field a ton unless he flips to corner or something like that. Or if, he just eats his Wheaties and hits the gym and he bulks up really quickly without losing a step in speed. That's all we're asking. So yeah, congratulations to him. We're very excited to see him on campus. And then of course, after that, it was a mere, 14 days later, the big one, the white whale, the so far the crown jewel of the class, Gavin Sidwar out of Warrenton, Pennsylvania. Next quarterback, come on up. 342nd best player according to 247, 23rd best quarterback in this recruiting class, 9th best player from the state of Pennsylvania, 2nd quarterback from Pennsylvania that Missouri has taken. He is 6'3". He is 190 pounds. How do we feel about Mr. Sidwar?
I mean, they've got the quarterback for the class locked up early, and I think that's really important for any recruiting class. You want to take a quarterback every year because just the way that the position goes, at least one of the guys that's going to be in the room this next year is not going to be in the room the following year. So it's important to always be bringing in new blood, and then of course supplement the transfer portal if that's what you need to do, or if it works out in that way. But they got a guy who's talented, 4-star kid. Continues that Pennsylvania pipeline. I don't know for sure, but you'd have to think that he and Matt Zollers are at least aware of each other, if not know each other. So you got to think that there's some sort of kinship there, just being both from the Keystone State. Drew Privula isn't a Pennsylvania native, but has spent time 2 or 3 years in Pennsylvania. So I guess it's we can only have quarterbacks from Pennsylvania these days, which is fine.
No, wait, no. Bo was from York, Pennsylvania. Sam Horn isn't from Pennsylvania. He's from Georgia.
Right. He's from Georgia. For some reason, I thought that Bo is from Ohio and then made its way into Pennsylvania. But that's
this
3
is
guys.
York, Pennsylvania. But yeah, I guess
I'll trust it. So yeah, that Pennsylvania pipeline is coming up big again. He's a different play style than the quarterbacks we've seen under Dinkwitz, in that he's not a guy that is super willing to tuck it and run. That doesn't mean he can't. I think from what I saw, he's a good athlete. He has good pocket presence. So if there's pressure up the middle, if there's pressure from one side or another, he's really good at readjusting, resetting, moving the pocket, and making a throw from within the pocket away from wherever the pressure's coming. he's not a guy who, as soon as he gets pressured, he's going to tuck it and look to run. And that's kind of something that we saw like a Brady Cook do. That's something that Drew Prabula has done, or sorry, Bo Prabula has done in in some of his limited time. Um, Matt Zollers was a very accomplished runner in high school. Sam Horn in high school had some great highlights of him running 70 yards down. I think he had a 75-yard run in the Georgia State championship game. So all those guys are more accomplished runners than Sidwar seems to be. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. He doesn't look slow or sluggish or unathletic. He's just always his eyes downfield, which I think for quarterback you'd much rather have that, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you do want mobility in your modern quarterback. That's always better than just having a statue who cannot, help himself by moving around. But also, your great quarterbacks. I mean, God, when you and I were uh, coming of age in the NFL, who were the best quarterbacks? Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. I mean, did they have 100 yards rushing career between the two of them? I don't know. Probably not. It's someone who can navigate, can feel the pressure, and still get the ball delivered to the place that it needs to go. Personally, I always prefer a mobile quarterback, but yeah, just because Sam Horn and Matt Zollers can run in high school, like, yeah, guess what? That's what you expect from a 4-star quarterback. Even if they are statuesque, they're just a cut above everybody else, and they can do that. Can't Sam Horn's not running on an SEC defense. This is not going to happen. Brady Cook's pretty unique. Bo Prabula is pretty unique. So if he's already used to navigating the pocket and making accurate reads under pressure, good. That's probably what you should be doing if that's your strength in the SEC. But yeah, it's always better to have some mobility. But if you can still navigate the play and get around pressure, then that's good too. Yeah, it's good. It's interesting that Missouri can recruit on a national level now. You just didn't really see that all that often, ever. I mean, I know Barry Odom tried to lean more nationally as he recruited, but he was also just not that great. So he was taking guys who would actually take the call and develop them, which that's a skill on its own. And Gary Pinkel famously flamed out when he tried to get away from the pipelines that he was used to. Really set the team back for about 3 years because of his failures in Florida and Georgia. So the fact that Eli Drinkwitz can come in here and pull talent from states that Missouri typically doesn't pull from is impressive. I think that's a testament to what Mizzou is as a brand now, and certainly what this Drinkwitz staff can do as a recruiting force. 2 straight quarterbacks straight from out of high school from Pennsylvania. That rocks. I love that. Everybody wants a local kid to come in and do well. Find the best dudes, bring them in and have them win. That's really what I'm looking for at this point. So I don't want to read too much into 2 quarterbacks from Pennsylvania, but if this becomes a meme and we get 3, that's fun. That's just fun. And I like that.
And as long as they play well, I mean, it's not as fun. Yeah. It's not as fun if they don't play well, but if they come in and at least one of them plays really well, then hey, it's a blast.
I mean, let's be frank. Eli Drinkwitz still has yet to start a quarterback that he recruited from high school.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter, but it's something you can point to. So yeah, if they play well and they can, they do well, then good, keep it up. Also, just get the best players. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. But yeah, that's another situation where there's no rush. I mean, Bo Prabula. Hold on, let me double check because I forget what the eligibility math is. So he is a redshirt junior this year. So he could come back in 26. Yeah. Sam Horn also has 2 more years of eligibility left if he wants it. And then you have Matt Zollers and then, of course, Gavin Sidwar. So you could talk yourself into a Zollers-Sidwar face-off in 2027. Or you know what? Not worry about it because things are going to change so much in the next 2 years anyway that it doesn't really matter. But it's always nice to get 4 stars. It's always nice to get a great quarterback, and you did it in a territory that you usually don't come from. So win, win, win. We're feeling pretty good about this.
And they got him early in the cycle so that when you're going out to recruit offensive linemen, you're recruiting wide receivers. You can say, hey, look, we've got the guy who's going to be thrown to you in 3 years. He's already here. He's a 4-star. He's good. Look at his tape. It's one thing I didn't mention. He's got outstanding accuracy downfield. Not necessarily the strongest arm, but from what I saw, he was dropping 30-yard, 35, 40-yard passes on a dime every time down the field, something that we really haven't seen a whole lot of in recent years in terms of consistency downfield. And that's something that he showed that he can do pretty well. That would have to be exciting for any wide receiver commit to say, "Oh, well, I can run downfield really fast. And if this guy's going to get me the ball, let me hop on that train."
Yeah. Marquise Johnson would kill for 2023 Brady Cook to
Yeah,
come back.
yeah.
Um, yeah, my kingdom for downfield accurate quarterback. So yeah, I like that too. That's really nice. Um, so we'll see. I want to talk about Jackson Cantwell really quick. I know Missouri has not been in the running for his services coming out of high school for a couple of weeks at least. Interesting development yesterday. So he announced that where he was going to school, and most of the recruiting services felt pretty confident that it was going to be Georgia. Um, Big old full court press online. A lot of the current commits for the Bulldogs putting up pictures that they took with him, and I think one of the Georgia quarterback moms said, "Please come and protect my son for the next 3 years." I'm like, okay, and really that was the betting money. Everyone thought he was going to go there, and then of course he has the ceremony last night, and he picks Miami, like the U, Miami Hurricanes with Mario Cristobal. Georgia was surprised. I know I follow a couple of beat writers there. They were truly surprised. Um, what were what was your thought? I mean, it's fun because it doesn't really affect us at this point. But when you saw that he had committed to Miami, what were your thoughts?
It was that well, good for Miami for coming up with a ton of money to win him away from Georgia, which he can say as much as many times as he wants that it's not about the money. It was about the money, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Just if they wanted to pay you more money, take it. This a guy of his talent level, probably not the only time he's going to make a payday in his career, but you never really know. And so taking the money when it's there is a smart decision. And it's not like he's taking money to go to a program that is going to be playing on a lower level or has has a guy that doesn't know what he's talking about in terms of offensive lineman. I mean, Mario Cristobal is a former offensive lineman. That said, he said no, it's about relationships, and it's which I could believe, but it's also he's saying about development. Haven't seen a whole lot of first round offensive linemen coming out of Miami in recent years. I have seen them coming out of Georgia. I've seen them coming out of Mizzou too, for that matter. Also Ohio State, which was his other choice. So you can't tell me it's all about development when there's not a whole lot of evidence to point to. But hey, go for, if you wanted to pay me 7 figures to go live in Miami for a few years, sign me up. I'm there. I am there. So I can't blame anyone for doing that. That doesn't mean he'll be there for 3 or 4 years. I also wouldn't be shocked if he's somewhere else this time next year or in 2 years, whether because he can't get on the field or someone else pays him more, or he just wants to come closer to home or whatever. So this is probably not the last we hear of Jackson Cantwell before the NFL draft.
No, definitely not. I I agree. I mean, I personally, well, let me think about it. I will say that I do not care if a college football player is chasing money. If you're going after the bag, that's great. I don't mind. I will admit, it does not inspire confidence in me to put a lot of emotional investment into that player. But at least you're being honest. And I think that's fine. That happens in pro sports, right? There's plenty of times when they'll pass up the sticking with the team that drafted them to take a bigger payday somewhere else. I'm like that. Yeah, that's it. You have a very small window to earn. Go earn the most you can. It does drive me crazy when they cite things that are just clearly not true. Like, you want to talk about relationships? Mizzou's been there since you were diapers, boy. Like, that's a relationship. Your dad came here. That's a relationship. Um, you want to talk about development? Yeah, Miami's put one offensive lineman in the NFL in the past 3 years. Georgia, many, 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 many. You want to be developed? Go to Georgia, or yeah, go to Ohio State, like you said. That's way better chance of being developed and becoming an NFL offensive lineman. Um, yeah, I would prefer they be honest, but also they would be torn apart. Whoever, um, fake outrage, or just hot takes on all the college football these days. This is what's wrong with it, and it's like, damn it, he's not going to win. But for me personally, he would have won if he just said, "Hey, I have a limited time to make money, and this is the best place that I could make that with the best team that I would fit and make a bunch of money." I'm fine with that. One of the beat writers for Georgia that I follow said that he was asking for 5 times the amount that Georgia typically slots for comparable players at the freshman level. Um, yeah, five
and I'm
times,
sure that's probably why Mizzou dropped out of the race. Not
very
because
early.
they couldn't come up with it if they really, really, really wanted to, but looking at that dollar figure and saying, what's the bang for our buck here for a program that doesn't have the same resources as a Georgia? It just didn't make sense to be in that running now. 2 years from now, maybe, but this year, this time around, if he's asking for that much money, which is a lot of money, then that's probably just why it went a different direction.
Yeah, and your value on the open market is whatever somebody's willing to pay, and you're more unhinged NIL donors like in Texas A&M or Miami. You get in the air, and like sometimes the coaches have a hard time reeling that in, and if they're willing to fork over the cash for it, like okay, that's what you want to do, and that's what Miami wanted to do, so they could and they did. But it takes us to again a critique of a commentary on Missouri recruiting, both on the portal and in high school. Um, and I think the conversation just continues to revolve around something that Drinkwitz has said previously multiple times and has just proven to be true. This staff, the Eli Drinkwitz Missouri staff, values proven production over potential every day of the week. Because again, yes, Mizzou's NIL is very competitive, but they still are not throwing around gold coins like an Ohio State or a Texas can. So they have to be smart with what they do. They have plenty to be competitive, but they need to be smart about it. So they're going to fight battles with players that they know are going to be able to provide what they're looking for. They're not going to do that for someone who claims that they can do it or we haven't seen it yet. That's why Williams Nwaneri walked. We hadn't seen it. Hadn't seen it on the field, didn't see it in practice. He wanted more. Okay, no thank you. We're not going to do that. We're not going to match. You go where you can find that, but you're not going to find it here. And they feel confident that they could pay less for actual production, and they did. They did. And so when you have a team like Ole Miss last year who had a favorable schedule and kind of put all their chips in the middle of the table to like go all in for a playoff run, like that makes a lot of sense. And that's when you're fighting production to bolster the holes that you have. I think Mizzou did something very similar. They were not going to pay Jackson Cantwell, who has not taken a snap at the college level, no matter how talented he is or what his pedigree is or what he can forecast as. They were not going to fork over that much money for that, for a guy who's most likely going to sit on the bench for a full year. They did it with Williams Nwaneri. They were not going to do it again. And I think that makes a lot of sense. It means you miss out on high school recruiting wins, but guys, we're in 2025. High school recruiting wins do not hold as much weight because you do not get to hold on to them. And as I've said many times, if you don't get him out of high school, you get him out of the portal. And like you said, I think Jackson Campbell enters the portal at least one more time before we get to NFL draft day. So that is my take. And I think it's the right one, by the way. I'm not critiquing Drinkwitz. I think it's smart.
For sure. And I mean, it has to feel a little bit burned by the Nwaneri situation, by even the Jalen Brown situation, where you invest a good amount of money, especially for Nwaneri, up front, end up getting 1.5 sacks and however many snaps he actually ended up on the field for this large amount of money, and then he up and leaves after that. So that's got to burn you a little bit and make you way less likely to want to entertain that idea the next time around, regardless of who it is or what position they play. And if it's not a guy like a Luther Burden who's going to come in and play day one, guaranteed, he's on the field day one. That's probably not a guy that it's worth investing that much money into, because, as you said, they can and most likely will leave the very next year, regardless of whether they were actually ready to play for you or not.
Like if you think about the highest paid positions in the NFL as a model, and then take that as what you will: quarterbacks, receivers, edge rushers, offensive tackles, blindside offensive tackles. Right? That's where you want to invest. But again, that's not how you can really do it in college, because you're not going to a 17-year-old offensive lineman. I don't care how good you are. Like 0.01% of them are ready to play day one. And so you're either investing long term and hoping he doesn't leave, or you're sinking a bunch of money in a guy who's not worth it. And if that's the case, I am not wishing ill for Jackson Cantwell. I hope he kills it at Miami for 3 years and then goes to the NFL number one pick. I hope that's what happens. But boy, anything less than that, what a money sink that is. How much money gets tied up with an incoming freshman offensive tackle that you cannot now no longer pay to a running back, receiver, cornerback, edge rusher, any three interior linemen? Like, just it's a gamble. It's a gamble, and you're hoping he doesn't leave. And so I just it's a crazy amount. It's a crazy investment. I think Mizzou did the right thing.
The only time it's worth that type of investment for that type of a player is if you have a donor coming in saying, I will give you this amount of money only for this player, and you're not getting it for anything else. I want this
Yeah.
guy. Here's the money. But if you don't, if he doesn't come here, or if you don't want to give him that much money, I'm not give it to you for anywhere else. In that case, it's a kind of sunk cost.
Yeah.
So you either do it or you don't. And maybe maybe it's something very similar to like that happened in Miami, where someone stepped up and said, I want this kid. Here's X millions of dollars for him. If he doesn't come here, I'm not giving it to you. It's only if he gets here, if you get him here. So that's the only time it would make sense. But even then, I find that specialized thing for a left tackle very unlikely.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, he's either going to do great and we'll never get a chance at bringing him back to the home state, or he's going to fall short of expectations and he's going to hit the portal, and we'll try again at that point. In which case, the market's probably going to be a little bit better reset for his skill set. And Mizzou will probably have a better chance of winning his services at that point. So it's all good. It's all good. Best of luck, Jackson. And hi, Christian, if you listen. I loved your Olympic talents. Those are great. Okay, so that was high school recruiting and its various ups and downs. I feel like the portal has either cheapened or eased fans' opinions of high school recruiting, and I think it's probably for a good thing. I think it's a good thing, but still, when there's nothing happening, it would be nice to see some recruiting wins, because that's really all that's happening. And Mizzou hasn't had a ton. Like, obviously, we went over 2 today, and obviously the big one with the quarterback, but it's kind of a feast or famine with Drinkwitz recruiting. Either you have a big spring or you don't, and we're kind of going through one of those don'ts. How do we feel about Mizzou recruiting in 2025, Nathan Hurst?
It seems really slow to now. So it's kind of weird. It's almost like every other year, Drinkwitz seems to hit it big in the spring, and then it kind of bodes really well for his overall class ranking if he does hit it big in the spring. So 2021, okay, that's the year that Luther Burden came in. So I guess it was the class of 22, but we're talking spring of 21. Spring of 21, class of 2022. This time, so we're talking here May 14th. By May 14th of 2021, Mizzou had 8 commitments locked up. All right. So right as of this date, they've got 3. Today, 2025. 2021, they had 8. That class ended up number 18 nationally ranked. Okay. 2022, so the off year, the even year, then they had 2 commitments at this point. That would be Brett Northfleet and Jabari Johnson, if you remember him, from the quarterback from Oregon, I believe is where he was from, or Washington, Northwest. That class ended up only ranking 32s and they only had 2 at this point in there. So then, even year 2023, they had, we had 2 interlocutor years. So 2023, once again, only 2 players by mid-May. That would have been a Whithafer, Ryan Josts. That class ended up ranked 21. Mm-hmm. All right. So those are outside of 2020. Those are the 2 worst ranked classes of the year, or of Drinkwitz's tenure, and they only had 2 at this point in the time. Last year, 2024, 7 commitments at this time of the year. That class ended number 16, so it ended up actually ranked his best high school recruiting class of his time at Mizzou. They had 7 at this time. Only 6 ended up making it to campus. One of the Josh Lewis, one of the defensive linemen who had committed at the time ended up flipping later on in the cycle. So we could call it six if you want. Either way, the years they had six, the year they had eight ended up being the highest ranked recruiting classes that he's had. The years where they've only had two, or in this case three, they've been a little bit lower. Not disastrous by any means, but lower than what we'd like to see. And so I'm a little worried that we might be back into the 20s this year in terms of the overall high school recruiting rankings, just because they're off to such a slow start. That said, high school recruiting's importance in the overall um, program health, while still important, is different than it was in 2021, 2022, even 2023. Even it's changed because the portal has become so much more prolific, and Mizzou has become so much more prolific in pulling guys who come in and play immediately from the portal. So, how much? What does that mean? Is it really that big of a deal? We don't really know yet. We won't really know for probably 3 years. But it's a little. It seems a little tepid, especially because this time last year we were super vamped. The vibes were good. We were excited. They pulled in all these guys. Matt Zollers and uh, a bunch of guys from Missouri. Which at this point there's nobody from Missouri that
Mhm.
is committed, which is a little strange. But I think it's a little down year in terms of in-state talent this year. So I'm sure they'll still get some guys, but not as many as like last year where they got it. They had um, the Dayton Hopkins come in, and Jason King from St. Louis, and a bunch of Missouri guys already signed on early on.
Okay. Let's do a thought exercise here because you're talking about kind of the waxing and waning. Big year, lower year. Big year, lower year, kind of as a pattern, a rough pattern. Part of that is, you go big on a incoming freshman class that ranks really highly, and maybe some high school kids go, "Oh, well, what's the chance I'm going to be able to beat a really highly ranked kid who's already got a year in the system?" Maybe some of the interest drops. That I don't know. I have no idea. I'd also look at transfer portal additions, right? How many did you bring in? How many were good? How many show that they were good? And now you're like, oh God, even more so. Like, yeah, this guy might have a year left or 2 years left, but I want to play now. And do I want to sit and wait for this guy to leave Missouri so I can start? So that's another one that I don't fully believe in. Here's the one I actually believe in. Recruiting budgets for paying players. If you have a big freshman class and you're Missouri and you're balancing out your NIL checkbook and you've got it into quadrants of like portal, retention, and incoming freshmen, like high school stuff. If you blow the budget on the freshman class for 1 year, maybe you don't have it for the next year, or you don't have as much. Similarly, if you bring in impact players from the portal who have multiple years left, and then now you had to pay to get them in, and then you got to pay to retain them. Maybe you have less available to be competitive in the high school market. So let's do the exercise, right? You talked about 2024. It was a good class, right? That's the one that had Williams Winery, had Kewan Lacey. Oh my God, guys who just didn't show up and stick around. Corny Crusher. Oh my God, another one. Okay, fine. Nick Rodriguez was in this one. James Madison, Elias Williams, Taylor Chandler, Aiden Glover. Um, Big class, right? Look who they brought in through the portal. Caden Green. You think he cost some dollars to bring in? I think they did. Toriano Pride, Clemson expat. Probably cost a decent amount of cash to bring him in. Here's the big one. Chris McClellan from Florida. Huge. Multiple years to play. Starter first year. Blue chipper. Yeah, he ate some cash. Darius Smith from Georgia. Did you have to pay a pretty penny to get him out? Probably. Probably. So that's just four guys right there. And on top of that, you have Jeremiah Beasley, the blue chipper from Michigan. You brought in Corey Flagg out of Miami. Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll, G5 guys, but they were out in the open market. A lot of guys wanted them. I think there is a lot of money tied up in that portal class and the incoming freshman class that maybe, I know a lot of those freshmen walked away, but like maybe there just wasn't as much in the coffers for the following years. investment into the freshman class. Maybe that's why it's so sleepy. You're waiting for some deals to get hammered out, restructured, or just figure out who else walking, what money you have left over to play with. Um, I'm less concerned about the performance of timing in the high school recruiting sphere. Obviously, it's more fun to have wins like this, but I feel like the Drinkwitz team has earned the benefit of the doubt of their roster management and money management. So yes, I am sad that we only have three, but I do wonder how much the money is the case.
And it could be a factor that high schoolers in general. I don't have any data about this across the country, but they could be a little slow playing it too, trying to play one school off another, and getting the best offer. And while in 5-10 years ago, it was this big name school wants me to come. They tell me my commit now or your roster your scholarship may not be there in a month from now. That's a little different now. The power is a little bit more with the player, where they can afford to sit back, especially if they're a highly ranked one, sit back and say, "Oh, hey, Georgia's offering me this," or "Hey, Mizzou's offering me that," and LSU's coming in, and Penn State's whispering in my ear a little bit. What do can you up it up? Can you give me 50,000 more than what you said? And and slow playing a little bit more. So I couldn't tell you what the numbers are for other big programs, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see across the country a lot more commitments closer to the end of the summer, when finally the athletes decide that, oh, I got to get this locked down before my season starts, or I want to just get the decision made so I can focus on my senior year. So it could just be a slower for everybody.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them do want to just have it over so they can enjoy their senior year. At least you've seen you've seen that increase. Um, but yeah, if you're going after big name players, yeah, there's a lot of people that are after them. It does take more time. Now, I'm sure if we offered some 2-star from, I don't know, Joplin, sorry, Joplin, just a 2-star from rural Missouri, you probably jump on it right now because that's the best offer he's got. If you're chasing after some blue chipper who's got half the nation chasing him, no, he's not gonna commit immediately. It's fun to be recruited. It's fun to be courted like that. Go on your trips and be treated like a little king. Yeah, it takes time. It takes time. So if you're swimming in the deeper waters, you got to tread water for a little bit longer until you see the winds. Really, it comes down to like, what would you say, July, August? Like if you're not seeing dominoes fall, you're like, now we're having some issues. So I'm okay with the timing. But again, it's more fun to have recruiting wins, especially when there's nothing else going on. So I get it. Yeah. You want to talk about the playoff?
Playoffs.
Playoffs. Okay, so here's the bugaboo. I think you've all heard it by now, but in case you're underneath a rock, Him Nation, um, playoff expansion talk. It's happening again because, of course, it is. The thing is not so much that they're talking about expanding into 16. I think almost everybody's good with that. It's how they're going to get there. And currently, um, Sankey and Petiti from the SEC and the Big Ten, they're floating out this idea where, yeah, you have a 16 team playoff, but the SEC and the Big Ten have a guaranteed 4 spots each, wherein no matter the caliber of team, 8 teams from the SEC and the Big Ten would get in no matter what. And then the rest would fall to the ACC, the Big 12, the Group of 5, and then the 3 next highest ranked teams. And yeah, there's discourse around it. There's a lot of discourse around it. Nathan Hurst, I'm going to let you take the floor first. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's terrible. It's craven. No one wants this except it seems like Greg Sankey and
Tony
Fertitti,
Petiti. Yeah.
for Tony Petitti, have also, I guess, probably the athletic directors and head coaches of those two leagues. Besides that, those 25 people, no one wants this. I thought that college football is supposed to be a meritocracy. You're supposed to be able to earn your way in. And how many years is there going to be in the foreseeable future where the SEC and or the Big Ten don't already have 4 teams that would naturally get in on their own merits? Anyway, the answer is very few, if any, that would happen. If you go back the last 10, you could go back and retcon the last 10 years into a 16-team playoff. I guarantee you, 9 out of those 10 years, there's going to be 4 SEC teams, 4 Big Ten teams in that, in how they're currently constituted. Oklahoma and Texas being in the pretending they were in the SEC 10 years ago. That would be the case. So those teams are already going to be getting in. So why do we need to, make a rule about it? And B, uh, it's like, how much would you feel like you earned a legitimate bid as a program, as a Mizzou? If you're Mizzou, you're the 4th team in the SEC. We were sort of ish the 4th team in the SEC this past year, and I think we could all agree that Mizzou probably wasn't a playoff caliber team in terms of the quality of play on the field last year compared to the other 12 teams that did make the playoff. If we got kind of backdoored into the playoff, I would diminish that for me in a little bit, because I would have felt like, did we really earn? Are we good enough to be here when there's perhaps another team that actually went undefeated, or went 11-1, and Mizzou's sitting here at 9-3, and kind of just backdoored their way in at 9-3 when they really shouldn't have been there. That would taste a little sour in my mouth, to be honest. If that was the case. That said, 99% of the time, or at least 90% of the time, the team's going to be deserving. They're going to be a top 16 team anyway, and it's not
No,
going to be a discussion. So it's no one's asking for this. No one needs. No, we don't need it.
no, no. So I pulled up last year's final college football playoff ranking. Okay, this is the last one. So you're looking at this. Oregon was first overall, but they won the Big Ten, so they're in. Okay, there's one. Georgia won the SEC. That's 2. Um, Boise State won the Mountain West, and they were the highest, higher ranked, so that's 3. Clemson won the ACC, so they're in. That's 4. And then, yeah, so those are the ones that they made it on the conference level. But then, if you expand this out reasonably, then you'd be looking at Arizona State. Oh yeah, Arizona State got him because he was 5, Big 12. So those are the ones that I got in. Then what's left? If we do it like a normal way, you've got Georgia comes in 6, Texas comes in 7, Penn State comes in 8, Notre Dame comes in, Ohio State, Tennessee, Indiana, SMU. Okay, that's how it did happen. If you do it the other way with 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten, you've got your 2 already in Oregon and Georgia. Then you have Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, which they're the ones that are bandied about for being left out, and then Ole Miss. Okay, I guess that's not bad. And then on the Big Ten side, you'd have Penn State, Ohio State, Indiana, all of which got in, and Illinois. Oh, what stupid! That would be bad. That would be bad.
I mean, and to be fair to Illinois, they went 10-2 in the regular season. They had a great year, probably their best year since the year they
Yeah,
won the Rose Bowl. But is that a team that is deserving and quality enough to be competing
they
for the
were
national
they
championship?
were barely more impressive than Missouri. Like, and Missouri had no business being in the playoff. Come on, come on.
I would have loved to see that matchup this past year, because I feel like those were 2 very evenly matched teams. To be honest,
Yeah.
it would have been a very good game. They actually beat South Carolina in their bowl game. So that was a weird and kind of hilarious game in and of itself.
Yeah.
So they were a quality team, but if South Carolina didn't deserve to get in, Illinois sure as hell didn't deserve to get in.
No, no. Yeah, that's not good. And I mean, we can go back even further. Let's look at 2023. So that was Michigan got in, Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, Florida State. They all would have gotten in. And then you get your Big Ten would be Ohio State 1, Penn State 2, Iowa 3. God, no one needs this is offensive decrepit Iowa from 2023 in the playoff. On the SEC side, obviously you had Alabama, Georgia, Missouri would have gotten in, and Ole Miss would have gotten in. So Ole Miss really likes this idea, I think, is what I'm learning from this. But yeah, no one else likes that. Man, I mean, this, like you said, this is meritocracy. It's supposed to be
Well,
you
it's
earn your
supposed to
way
be.
into the field. And the fact that we are taking every chance we can to circumvent that meritocracy via money and influence. Well, now that I say it out loud, maybe it is the most American thing you could possibly do, is just do it this way. But like, that's not, no other sport, no other version of sports does it this way, right? I can't think of a single one that
maybe like
that does it.
European soccer with some, European Championship League or something has something like this, but I couldn't even.
Is this Europe or is this America? Because that's a check.
It's America, and those who have the gold make the rules. And at this point, the SEC and the Big Ten have all the gold, and so it seems like they're more than willing to make all the rules.
Here's what I'm hoping beyond hope, that Sankey Pertiti said, "Hey, look, we can float this out, and we can flex, and then we can back off and get something that we actually want." And have everybody lose their damn minds over this, and then offer something way less crazy, and get that instead, because this is it's so beyond my ability to think rationally. Like, you actually want this? I don't believe you.
Even having 2 automatic bids is distasteful to me, because having that second one is distasteful. But even 2 or 3 feels at least a little better than this, because I know for a fact that every single year there will be 2 SEC teams and 2 Big Ten teams that deserve to be in the playoffs. Yes. So it won't change a thing. Even if you go to 3, I know for a fact there will always be 3 SEC teams. Most years, 3 Big Ten teams. But as you just pointed out, the 4th Big Ten team is super dubious to ever get in there. But even 3, as gross as it sounds, it tastes bad in my mouth, much more preferable than the 4, because the 4th, that 4th team is always going to be like, really, what? And then you're talking about SEC, like in the SEC, what absurd tiebreakers are they going to have to come up with to determine who the 4th team is? This past year, Ole Miss, Alabama, South Carolina, Mizzou, all at 9-3. Like, what is that? And then you're coming down to like whoever scored the most points on a full moon gets in, or whoever wins, and then you get it down to a coin flip. And that's really how you want to determine an automatic bid to play for the national championship? Like, come on, just give if you win your conference championship game, you get in.
Yes.
If you had a really good season other than that, then the committee can honor you for doing that and let you in, and then consider you and your accomplishments alongside everybody else's, and let them in, and then let the chips fall as they may. It's just, I can get blue in the face. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to change anything. But
if you want to guarantee more teams from your conference in, and you want to make conference championships count for something, recreate divisions. Okay, have all the division winners end up playing for the conference championship, but just have your division winners go in the playoff. Right? Every conference has got an absurd amount of teams right now, except for you, Conference USA. Like, just do that. I mean, I still hate that. I hate that a lot. Because some benefactor of a weak division is going to just ride into the playoff and get smacked probably most of the time. But like, if that's how you want to do it that way. Make it more legitimate.
At least you would have won something to get into.
You won something. Yes. You've proven something on the field to get in. This is just, I was the 4th best, and therefore I get to go in. What the? You're not hanging a banner for that, unless you won the playoff, but still, that's so stupid. I hate it. I hate it so much. I'm just hoping that it doesn't pass. I hope somebody can stand up to the bullies, but oh no, good luck with that. Yeah, it's a peak off season, man. Talking about playoff formats and recruiting strategies and NIL dollars. We should probably do a mailbag, right? That should come at some point.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll next time around will be the end of May. There's really won't be anything to talk about, unless there's. We'll see how how this playoff thing goes. We'll see if there's any more high school recruits in the next couple of weeks. But we play it by ear.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, for all you listening, potential mailbag show. You can send it to rockingnation.com. You can send it to us on Twitter, on Blue Sky. You can message us anywhere that you see fit. Yeah, we'll open up for mailbag questions. We'll do it then. But we're not going to do it today, right? Because it's the end of the show. That's it for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. You can leave a comment or rate us. We love all types of feedback from you all. You can follow us on Twitter at Matt H. Edwards. He's at Burst to Hurst. Of course, you can follow the Rock M flagship at Rock M Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rock M Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, MIZ.
ZOU.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. We'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.